When I first got into the world of watches, I remember being surprised by how much the word icon was used. I'm from a pretty religious background, and icon was a word we sometimes used when we were talking about a piece of art or an image of a sacred person or event. But religious icons didn't come up that much. Turns out, horological icons come up quite a bit, to the point where it might be an overused word. Today, I want to talk about 15 iconic watches that have earned that title, and you don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of money to own an iconic watch. Let's do this! I think this might be the most iconic digital watch there is, the F91W. Probably the most inexpensive watch in the world that still gets watch collectors excited, and this represents where so many watch collections began. Introduced in 1989 by the Japanese electronics company Casio, this quickly became a hit because of its low price, functionality, and long battery life. It's a smaller watch measuring at 33mm by 38mm with a thickness of 8.5mm, but the size is all a part of the 80s charm. It has a resin case, a Casio quartz movement, and 30 meters of water resistance. Casio has made a big and lasting impression in the watch space in a relatively short amount of time. You think of these, and then you have the Casio G. I really hate it when you do that to me in the edit. I don't like it. Keeping on with Casio, and this is the more premium, rugged sports watch side of the Casio family, the G-Shock. G-Shock takes the resin case, but then adds in a design language that's completely their own. Narrowing down to the icons of G-Shock, it's really a toss-up between the octagonal case with the 2100 series or the classic square with the 5600 series. But my heart leans a little bit more towards the classic square, and let me tell you why. This is where it all began with G-Shock. In 1983, they released the DW5000, the original G-Shock created to be the most durable watch that could do it all. This watch really was the birth of the G-Shock as we know it, and if you look at the 1983 model versus the modern, it has barely changed. Breitling is a brand with a rich and robust history, and to this day remains privately owned and independent, which is something that is less and less common within the mid-tier luxury arena. They have a fantastic catalog, with my particular favorites being the Chronomat, Top Time, and Premier Collection, but if we had to narrow it down to their icon, it has to be the Navitimer. In 1952, Willy Breitling was approached by the U.S. Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association and asked to create a new chronograph for its members. And yes, Willy Breitling might be the greatest name in watchmaking history. He sounds like a horological cowboy. But anyways, he developed a wrist-worn instrument specifically designed to meet the needs of pilots. It could perform all necessary flight calculations such as average speed, distance traveled, fuel consumption, rate of climb or descent. Although this is not the primary function of the Navitimer anymore for the modern wearer, it is the icon of Breitling, and it is one of the most handsome and timeless watches money can buy. Moving on to another brand heavily associated with pilots, IWC, and it has to be the Big Pilot. This is the epitome of the IWC design language of less is more. Big, legible, sporty, but still refined and cool. If it was me and my money, I would opt for a smaller size model, like the Big Pilot's Watch 43, also available on bracelet. I really need to get one of these into review. It is absolutely criminal that I have not reviewed an IWC yet. We need to change that. But if you want the true icon, the classic Big Pilot, this has a 46.2mm case diameter, a thickness of 15.6mm, screw-down crown, and 60 meters of water resistance. Now for me, the 46.2mm is too beefy, but if you have the wrist size to pull it off, this is the icon. If there's a Brit Pierce video that doesn't try to bring up Cartier at some point in the video, was it even really a Brit Pierce video? It's a good question. Asking all the tough ones. Cartier is quite different from the other watch brands so far, in that they also make jewelry, and their most iconic watches are both square or rectangular. When I think of Cartier, I either think of the Santos, another aviation watch and the first modern men's wristwatch ever made, or the Cartier Tank. Even though I think the Santos is more of the moment with the popularity of the Santos de Cartier, I would still say the tank is the icon of the brand. Created by the brand's founder, Louis Cartier, in 1917, the tank was inspired by the Renault FT-17, a new, innovative French tank used during World War I. This watch is pure class on the wrist and possibly my favorite Cartier design. No, I can't say that. It's too close with the Santos. I love the Santos so much, but I also love the tank so much. They're both right up there. Keeping on with square watches, but moving into the realm of racing with the Tag Monaco, or the just Heuer Monaco. If you follow my channel, you know I'm an F1 nut, so naturally my ears perk up when I hear the word Monaco. This watch was first introduced in 1969, and it is important in a lot of ways. For one, it was a completely new and different case design and model for Heuer. Two, it was created to commemorate the Monaco Grand Prix. Big shout out to Charles Leclerc. And three, it was the line selected by Jack Heuer to launch the Caliber 11 movement, the final version of Project 99, which I don't have time to get into right now, but if you don't know about Project 99, definitely look into it after you watch the entirety of this video, of course. So this was a chronograph with 100 meters of water resistance, unheard of at the time, with an automatic movement which was also novel for its time. This was and remains a huge model for the brand, and I'd certainly say it is their icon. Okay, keeping on with historical automatic chronographs, we need to talk about Zenith. It is hotly debated on which brand put the first automatic chronograph wristwatch into production, but we know the first company to begin developing a self-winding chronograph wristwatch was Zenith. In fact, the name El Primero means first. I should probably fact check that. Hold on. As I was saying, El Primero means first. Of course, this movement has important links to the Rolex Daytona, but I don't want to spend my Zenith time slot talking about Rolex. The El Primero is another watch that's design hasn't changed much over time, because it doesn't need to, with the tonneau case shape, 3 subdials, red chronograph hand, and date window at 4:30. Shout out to Don Hamilton! This is the icon of Zenith, but I could see the Chronomaster Sport being a modern icon as well. With Omega, there were 3 big considerations. 1, the Seamaster, the longest running product line for the brand. 2, the Constellation, which stood alongside the Seamaster in the 50s and 60s as Omega's flagship watch. And 3, the Speedmaster, which really needs no introduction, which is why it ultimately has to be the icon of Omega. While the Seamaster Diver 300 might be their most popular modern model, I would say the Speedy is the most iconic. I think most of us know the story by this point, but for those who don't, the Speedmaster was first introduced in 1957 as a racing watch and looked quite different than the Speedy as we know her today, with the broad arrow hands, flat lugs, fully brushed bracelet. But it was in 1965 that we see the Speedy design language really start to take root in the ST-105012, which was the model selected by NASA to accompany their astronauts on their trip to the moon. A lot of the features of the Moon watch remain to this day, with a 42mm case diameter, stainless steel case, baton hands, Hesalite crystal, and a 3-2-1 movement. This is one of those watches that truly deserves its status as an icon, and I think it is the most timeless and possibly the most handsome watch ever made. Rolex was the most difficult brand to narrow down to one icon because they are an icon factory. For someone who isn't into watches as much, a muggle, if you will, they probably think of the Rolex Day-Date or Datejust, and I think there's a strong argument for these being the icons. For someone who is deeper down the rabbit hole, maybe the Submariner or the GMT Master 2 or the Daytona. And I've really gone back and forth on this one. Even by the time I finish filming this and edit it and publish it, I'm sure my mind will change. But for now, I'm going to say it, I'm going to lock it in. The Rolex Daytona. No. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? I think if we were after the most recognizable, it would be a Datejust or a two-tone Datejust. Most popular, the Submariner or the Submariner Date. But the Daytona has really solidified its place as an icon, and for a Rolex, has undergone quite a few aesthetic changes. I just think if you asked a watch collector what Rolex they would buy, money no object, 9 out of 10 of them would say the Paul Newman Daytona. Maybe that's just me, that's 100% what I would say. In fact, Paul Newman's own Daytona 6239 is the most expensive Rolex ever sold to date for about $15 million in 2017. But does being the most coveted and desired model make it the most iconic? I don't know. I don't feel great in this choice, but I don't feel great in any choice because there's so many icons. There's a strong argument for a few different models. I feel like most people are going to say the Submariner. I'm sticking Daytona. No icon list is complete without talking about Jaeger-LeCoultre. Like Zenith, I don't want to spend my time talking about their movement customers like Audemars Piguet or Patek Philippe. Although it is an important part of horological history, the icon for JLC, of course, has to be the Reverso. They are another brand with a fantastic catalog, but the Reverso stands alone. Originally made to meet the needs of polo players, this has now evolved into more of a dress watch with the rectangular case shape, Art Deco design language. And it has the best gimmick ever with the reversible dial, either displaying the case back or another watch face. I'm personally all about the mono face. If it was me and my money, that's what I would buy. But I would not turn down the duo face either. Great watch. Does it pain me that the icon of the fantastic Maison of Audemars Piguet is a sports watch? Yeah, a little bit. But there is no arguing with it. The AP Royal Oak is their icon. As much as I love the 1159s, whether it's the more simple or crazy complication 1159s, I love the star wheels. Real talk, I hate the new remaster. That's another story for another time. But when you think of AP, the Royal Oak is the first thing that comes to mind. Designed by Gerald Genta, this watch feels industrial and refined all at the same time. It possibly has my favorite watch bracelet ever. You can get complicated Royal Oaks, sportier Royal Oaks, like the Offshore. If it's me and my money and I wanted something very high complication, it's Patek Philippe. But if I was going for iconic sports watches, it's AP all day long. But to clarify, I can't afford either option, so... As I was literally just saying, Patek Philippe is synonymous with high complications. Maybe the 5711 is the most widely known model, but to me, Patek Philippe means perpetual calendars, split-second chronographs, minute repeaters, gem setting, and enameling. Something like the 5327, a mechanical self-winding perpetual calendar, scalloped lugs, applied Breguet numerals. This has a 39mm case size. I'd personally prefer 37mm, but I think the esteemed watchmakers at Patek Philippe probably know a little bit more than me, so... Another brand I associate with high complications, Lange Sohne. Oh no, I said that wrong. I said Sona. I'm supposed to say Zona. German speakers intensify in the comments. Let's keep this short and sweet. The icon of ALS has to be the Lange 1. With Lange's reintroduction in 1994 came the Lange 1. It is perfectly balanced and unbalanced all at the same time, and it is a uniquely German take on watch design. The modern version has a 38.5mm case size, manual winding movement, with a 72-hour power reserve. This movement truly couldn't be any more German looking with the 3/4 plate, glashütte striping, and hand-decorated balance cock. Be mature about the hand-decorated balance cock. This is a real bucket list watch for me. This is a, if things start going well, kind of watch. I'll be wearing one of these. You'll know, because you'll see me rocking one of these. Please like, comment, subscribe, so maybe one day. And finally, for our last watch, let's talk about F.P Journe. I've mentioned it before in other videos. If there's one brand that particularly speaks to me, their design language, everything they do, it's Journe. I find the design language both classical and weird all at the same time. I love the way F.P Journe designs his watches. If I had to choose one watch brand, money no object, forever, it's Journe for me, baby. Now, as for the icons of Journe, it has to be the Resonance. So the Resonance pays tribute to the research conducted by 18th century watchmakers using two completely separate movements, with the balance wheels being placed very, very close together, 0.4 millimeters apart. And this close proximity allows the balance wheels to pick up on each other's vibrations and sync into the exact same beat. To me, this is one of the coolest reimaginings of a watch that absolutely blows me away and makes me excited about watchmaking. But it does come with a hefty price tag. These retail for over $100,000 USD, which is just a smidge out of my price point. Ooh. But anyways, for those of you who had made it to the end, you are absolute freaking legends. The eagle-eyed viewer might have noticed I've only listed 14 rather than the 15 I promised in the title. And to those people I say, deal with it. And let's thank the gorgeous, fabulous, wonderful Pope tier patrons. Oh my gosh, thank you to the fabulous names on the screen. Yes, these are the Pope tier patrons. Thank you to all tier patrons, but especially the Pope tier patrons. I'm currently filming this while very, very pregnant. Do you want to see? Ooh. I am right now 36 weeks, I think. Yeah, I think I am 36 weeks. So I'm pretty freaking pregnant, and this is going to be released while I'm on maternity leave. So if there's any new patrons, I'm so sorry your names aren't on the screen right now. This has been pre-recorded a while ago. But thank you, new patrons. Thank you, old patrons. And I will put the newest patrons in a pinned comment. Just thank you guys, because you're the best.